Chapter 3. A Secret Wedding. The next morning, Romeo went to visit Prior Lawrence. The prior was a wise monk who made medicines and helped people with problems. "What can I do for you, Romeo?" Prior Lawrence asked. "I'm in love with Juliet Capulet," Romeo explained. "I know our parents won't like it, but we really want to get married." "Then I will help you," the prior said kindly. When your parents find out you are married, it might help stop the fighting. If you both come to my house this afternoon, I will marry you in secret." Romeo was delighted. He ran to the market square to find Juliet's nurse and give her the message. The nurse rushed off to tell Juliet what Romeo had said. She hated to see her beloved Juliet unhappy. "Prior Lawrence will marry you this afternoon." Juliet couldn't stop smiling. "I will tell my parents I am going to see the prior about my wedding to Count Paris," she decided. As the clock struck 2, Juliet arrived at Prior Lawrence's house. Romeo was waiting for her, and the prior performed the secret wedding at once. "You are now husband and wife." Romeo and Juliet were married, but Juliet's parents were expecting her back and she had to go straight home. So Romeo went to look for Benvolio and Mercutio. He found them in the market square, arguing with Tybalt Capulet. "What's the problem?" Romeo asked. "You Montagues are the problem," snarled Tybalt, turning to Romeo. "You sneaked into our party and I'm going to make you pay. I challenge you to a duel." "I refuse," Romeo replied. "You know the prince said no fighting." "You are afraid to fight," Tybalt taunted him. "Coward." "Don't speak to my friend like that," said Mercutio. "Oh, so you want to fight instead, do you?" Tybalt shouted, drawing his sword. Mercutio drew his too, and they started fighting. "Stop it!" yelled Benvolio. He and Romeo frantically tried to pull the pair apart. They were too late. Tybalt stabbed Mercutio, who slumped to the ground, dead. Romeo was so upset, he grabbed Mercutio's sword. Without thinking, he ran at Tybalt and stabbed him too. Benvolio stared in horror as Tybalt sank to the ground. "Romeo, what have you done?" he gasped. "Quick, go before the prince comes." Romeo dropped his sword and ran for his life. Chapter 4. Escape to Mantua. When Prince Ascanius arrived, Benvolio told him about the fight. The prince was angry, but he could see Tybalt was mostly to blame. "Romeo shall not die," he said. "I will banish him instead." Being banished meant Romeo would have to leave Verona and never come back. It was better than being put to death, but not much. Oh no, for Juliet! Gossip spread fast in Verona, and the nurse soon heard what had happened. With tears in her eyes, she went to tell Juliet. Juliet was heartbroken. "Cousin Tybalt is dead," she sobbed, "and I will never see my Romeo again." Don't cry, begged the nurse. I will bring Romeo to see you before he leaves. He is hiding at the prior's house. Yes, please find him, Juliet said, wiping her eyes. Ask him to come and say goodbye. The nurse went straight to the prior's house. Romeo looked as if he had been crying too. Romeo, you should be grateful, said Prior Lawrence. The prince has spared your life. But I am banished, Romeo said, and I want to be with Juliet. I love her. Go and see her tonight, said the prior, but make sure you leave Verona by dawn. Head for the city of Mantua. After a while I will talk to the prince. I will ask him to forgive you and let you come home. The nurse smiled at Romeo, and I will tell Juliet you are on your way. That night Romeo went again to the Capulets' garden and climbed off to the ivy to Juliet's balcony. But before dawn, Romeo had to leave. It's not time yet, Juliet pleaded. Romeo sighed. Giving his new wife one last kiss, he climbed down the balcony, sped from the garden, and set off for Mantua. All that morning, Juliet cried and cried. Her nurse tried to comfort her, but she couldn't stop. Suddenly her mother and father swept in. Poor Juliet, said her mother, going over to her. You are still upset about Tybalt? But this will cheer you up. You are to marry Count Paris. The wedding is on Thursday. Thursday? Juliet gasped. It was so soon, and I don't want to marry Count Paris. Please don't make me. Her father scowled. I won't marry him, Juliet shouted. No, no, no. What do you mean no? Said her father angrily. You will marry Count Paris on Thursday, and that's that. And her parents left. But I am already married, wailed Juliet. What am I going to do? Well, you can't tell your parents about Romeo, said her nurse. I think you will have to marry Count Paris. The nurse bustled away, and Juliet realized only one person could help her. I must go and see Prior Lawrence, she thought.